I've got a confession to make. I don't use keywords as my main math word problem solving strategy. Trust me, I can feel your judgment from the other side of the computer screen, but before you judge me, let me tell you why that's so. Hi, I'm Anna Kelly from Anna Kelly's Creations. Let's make progress monitoring quick, goal writing easier, and your to-do list just a little bit shorter. Grab your favorite bubbly drink and let's dive in. You've likely, so have I in the past, printed off the list of the math keywords for your students to paste in their notebooks. You've hung anchor charts with color-coded keywords all around your classroom. You've emphasized the importance of these words to solve math problems. We've all done it, even me. But here's the problem with math keywords. They don't always apply, and they can sometimes mean different things or the same thing. Think about it. Have you had your students try to find the keywords, but the context wasn't actually what the keyword was? Awkward. I've been proven wrong by my students many times and called out. Middle schoolers, yeah, they're gonna call you out. Keywords don't always apply. We all know that English itself is confusing, and honestly, math problems can be too. I know that teaching keywords sounds like the perfect strategy to help your students solve math problems. I thought so too, and it did work sometimes, but too many times the keywords let me and my students down. They still didn't know what the word problem was asking them, and all they knew was that they found the keyword, or even better, there was no keyword to be found. So that's when I decided to make a change. Now, when it comes to solving math word problems, I teach them strategies. I help them try to visualize the problem and unpack it a little better. Tip 1 is to start with one-step word problems. Get your students comfortable and fluent in solving those one-step word problems, so then we can add on more challenging topics. I would start with one operation at a time. This helps them become confident and builds fluency when they see those kinds of questions. When you're teaching the one-step word problems or any word problems, one method you can teach them to solve is using an equation. Equations are going to help them visualize the story a little better and then make it a little more concrete. It's also going to help them later down the line in math when they have to start solving for variables. Let's go ahead and teach them variables now and show them that it's not really that scary to have letters in math, right? Right. So if we look at this question here, so I have an example for you on what I would start with my students. Here I have one-step subtraction problems, and I would just go over an entire page with my students. If we look at this one, the art teacher found 28 broken paintbrushes. There were 67 to start. How many paintbrushes aren't broken? I'm going to tell my students that there were 67 paintbrushes to start with. 28 of them broke. There are a certain amount that aren't broken. I would probably just use a P for a paintbrush. So there are some amount of paintbrushes that aren't broken, plus the broken ones equals 67. Now, how can we figure out what this P would equal? Well, we need to figure out how many are left. So we are going to subtract 67 minus 28. And that's going to tell us what P is, which is the not broken paintbrushes. So 67 minus 28 is going to get you 39. So there are 39 paintbrushes that are not broken. I know this sounds like a lot, especially with special education students right off the gate, but the more they practice, the more you model it, the more it's going to make sense to them. So keep going. Keep showing them similar questions to build their confidence. So as you can see, this whole page is subtraction, and they're going to be similar questions. And we would practice a whole bunch of those before I gave them a new operation to try. The next method, besides using keywords that I show my students, is to draw a picture. One thing that always kind of became a barrier for me and my students when I said that was my students were, what do I draw? I'm not a good drawer. So I have found that the bar model method is really helpful for my special education students. They aren't wondering, what do I draw, or am I a good enough drawer? They know we're just going to draw bars. And when I first saw the bar method, I was like, whoa, that is really confusing. I'm going to need to look at this. But when you step back and take a look, it's not as bad as you think. And it will really help your students know what they're drawing, and will give them more structure to how to draw a picture. So if we look at this one, Isabella lost 18 of her 47 markers. How many markers does she have left? I would have my students first draw a bar to show all of the markers that she started with. So she started with 47 markers. She lost 18 of them. And I draw that with a dotted line because they're not there anymore. They're gone. They don't have to draw a dotted line, but that helps me visualize. So she lost 18 of them. She still has a certain amount. We don't know how much. So we can see we made these bars the same length because they both are equal to 47. We just have to figure out 18 plus something equals 47. So we are going to actually end up subtracting 47 minus 18. And we are going to get 29. We now know that this box over here is 29. See, not as scary as you think, right? They can get more tricky, and I like to watch tutorials a lot with the more trickier ones, and I'll walk through them first by myself before I try to teach the students. So technique, scariest one that we've gone over is use algebra or equations. The second one is to draw pictures using the bar model method. And if your students need even more concrete visuals, get out the manipulatives. And if you're working with students in higher grade levels, maybe 5th, 6th, high school, and you don't want to get out the counting bears, don't get out the counting bears. Use things that everyone has everywhere. One thing that I always have tons of, paper clips. Get out the paper clips. This way, it's not as out in the open that they're using counters per se, and they have good manipulatives to solve the problem. So if we were going to look at this one here, Ava has 52 beads. We would actually have them count out the 52 beads and then uses 23 for a necklace, and we would actually take them away. This is getting your students hands-on, and some of them might need to start this way. I think this is a great way to start and then maybe try the more abstract, concrete ideas. Any of these techniques will work great, and it won't have your students looking around trying to find those key words that might not always mean what we think. The next step or level, once I have gone through each operation with my students for one-step word problems, I'm going to mix all different operations on one page so that they can get a practice for doing this. I would also use this to collect data. So I would give my students this probe here, and I would have them solve it independently. Any method they wanted. They could draw a picture, they could use manipulatives, they could use using an equation and have them solve. Go ahead and gather your data. And then this is a really good intervention tool. They get immediate feedback, so you're going to grade it when they're done, hand it back to them, and go over it together. They're getting immediate feedback and really quickly seeing what they can change for next time. Once your students have become confident and have mastered the one-step problems, you're ready for the two-step word problems. And even when I look at these sometimes, they're a little tricky. That's why I always like to go through them first. Or it's good to talk it out and model for the students so they can see your thinking. We all know that is a good teaching skill. Think alouds. So hop in there if you think you're ready. Let's take a look at a two-step problem that I would use the bar model on. So for this one, you can see there's a little bit more to our bar models. This says the STEM lab has 4 carts of laptops. Each cart holds 25 laptops. A teacher has checked out 37 of the laptops. How many are left in the carts? So we have 4 carts. Each one of these is a cart of laptops. So I would write that for me to see. Each one of these is 25. That helps me quickly see, okay, well, there's 4 carts of 25. That is 100. So I know that this bar and this bar both equal 100. So what is left here that the teacher did not check out? Well, for this one, I am going to have to, well, we would probably write, just so we can visualize that we did do 25 times 4. And now we're going to do 100 minus 37 to figure out what goes here. And we are left with 63. So there are 63 laptops. Another technique I use with my students is I match the type of problems. So you might see that number 1 and 2 are 2 different problems, but then number 3 and 4 are very similar to 1 and 2. So I would do 1 and 2 as a we do with my students, or maybe I would model it the first time. And then these would be a we do or a you do, depending on if your student is ready. So you can see that this one, the art room has 6 cabinets of paint. Oh, that's very similar to 4 carts of laptops. Each cabinet holds 12 bottles of paint. The students are using 28 bottles. How many are left? So they're very similar, just different topics and numbers. And this really boosts your students' confidence when they are seeing, okay, I just solved one just like this with my teacher. I can probably try it. And then you have them try it, you go over it. This is a great use of your intervention time. I like to do this with all of my math. I like to have problems that are very, very similar and then have them try ones that are similar below. So my final piece of advice to you is take the pressure off of memorizing those keywords. They may be a good tool to have in your notebook or something to quickly look at and maybe confer with, but don't make it the end-all be-all. These 3 strategies of using manipulatives, drawing a picture with bar models, and using equations will set your students up for success as they get further down the line in math. These are great skills to help them understand and kind of dissect what the word problems are asking. If you found any of these techniques helpful, or if you have some of your own, drop a comment below. We would all love the help and support as we are trying to muddle through these word problem waters. If you are looking for more information, I do have a blog post about this topic linked below. And I also have these pre-made worksheets with progress monitoring probes and intervention pages ready to go for any kind of word problem that you might need. 1-step, 2-step. I've linked below a free trial of word problems. Give them a try with your students and see if you like the format. If you do, I have word problems for 2nd through 5th grade in my Teachers Pay Teacher store available for purchase. As always, You're doing better than you think. You've got this. Keep going, and I'll see you next time.